Hello, Erica. You can go ahead and introduce yourself and what you're running for.
Okay, I am Erica Garland, and I'm running for Denton City Council, Place 5.
Right on. We're excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I don't know, did you want me to kind of go in more
You
about who
can
I
if you
am?
want. Other people have, so it's totally up to you.
Okay. So a little bit about myself because I think that's kind of important in knowing who people
hmm
are. I've lived in Denton for about 16 years. I raised my four boys here. I built my career at the Denton Enterprise Airport, where I started out at about $9 an hour. I worked there for about a decade, and then I kind of transitioned into kind of major airlines. So I work for one of those. I do pilot recruiting, which is kind of a fun job. And I have served on the Denton Airport Advisory Board. I currently serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission here in Denton. And I just think that Denton is a great city and we have a lot of unique challenges, and we need people that are just kind of rooted in Denton, planning on staying in Denton, and kind of motivated for the right reasons to serve is kind of what I believe. So that's why I'm doing this.
Right on. I love that. Well, we can get right into the questions. The first few are going to be more public transit oriented. So we'll start with question number one. What is your experience using public transit? Have you used things like Go Zone, the Connect buses, or the A train?
Yeah. So I obviously understand how important public transit is, especially with a city that's growing as fast as Denton. And while I don't rely on it every day, I wish I could. So, like I mentioned, I work for an airline. That airline, the DART kind of stops right there in front of it. I wish I could use it. I absolutely would love to. But by the time I drop my son off at school every day to be there by 9 a.m., it just doesn't go fast enough. And so I feel like I'm one of those people that I spend a lot of money on the express lanes to get to work on time. I sit in a lot of traffic. I'm late to work a lot. I'm a commuter, so I see the value in it. I just wish I also see the gaps. And so I also have a son who is he's 27. He has a disability, so he doesn't drive, but he works full time, and so he relies a lot on GoZone and Uber. And unfortunately, he leans more on Uber because GoZone is unreliable at times. So, and that's kind of what I hear consistently is people say, we have these resources, but they just don't always 100% work and aren't reliable all of the time when it comes to getting to work or across town or just running errands. So, I definitely, as someone on council, would support improving and kind of beefing up the tools that we currently have to just to kind of make it work better.
Right on. We love that right out the gate. Let's see. Question number two. Accessibility is a big issue in public transit. How do you plan to work with DCTA to address things like safe sidewalks, unprotected bus stops, and low route coverage, etc.?
Yeah, so accessibility, that's foundational. Like I said, I have a grown child with a disability. So if someone can't safely get to a stop or doesn't feel safe while they're waiting, for public transportation, then the system isn't working. And so that's where I feel like the city and DCTA have to kind of better align on what makes sense and where those resources need to go. So whether that's sidewalks or better lighting or safe crosswalks, that just goes along with the core infrastructure that is kind of infrastructure responsibilities, I guess is a better way to word it. If we're going to have like serious transit and approve those processes, that's a vital piece to kind of make sure is in place. We always talk about growth, the growth is coming whether we want it or not. And so making sure that our infrastructure and slash accessibility are in place to keep pace with that growth. And again, I think just talking to residents and users and people that are in these spaces and depending on these resources, and kind of seeing where those gaps are and where we should better target investing. So, like, where do our valuable resources need to go to kind of fix the low hanging fruit, if you will, of like what's the easiest thing that we can fix to make things more accessible, and to make it just work better.
Right on, right on. Let's see. Question number three, we've mentioned Go Zone a little bit. So, question number three. Dentonites have said that Go Zone is inefficient, unreliable, and uncomfortable. How does Go Zone factor into your plans for public transit improvement?
Yeah, so that's a good question. They kind of touched on that in the Dina forum recently. We have heard that it doesn't consistently kind of meet the expectations of what we want it to, and that the wait times are unreliable. That's what my son has said. He's like, "Mom, I get there and I just wait and wait and wait, and then you have to go to certain places where for pickup, like they don't just come to your house like Uber does." So I don't like I am somebody in the corporate world that I don't believe in just scrapping an idea. I think that and I don't believe in overcorrecting. I think that with everything you kind of make minor adjustments and kind of tweak the resources that you have until you get where you need to be. I think when you kind of overcorrect or you're like, "Oh, no, this is a bad idea, just scrap it." That's when you can kind of get in trouble a little bit. And so I think that what we need to do is kind of take a hard look at how it's performing and what needs improvement, and just look at the data, like who's using it, what are they saying, what does that feedback look like, and then um, going forward as GoZone is just kind of one piece to the strategy. That's just kind of like one tool that we have in our tool belt, and pairing that along with kind of fixing routes with the other tools that we have, I think is what overall makes sense. Just looking at it holistically, and um, the goal, I think, isn't just one solution or like one master, um, like end all be all, like this will fix it all, but it's rather a fully functional system that's balanced and sustainable and works long term, meeting the needs of Denton.
Right on, right on. Let's see. Our next few questions are going to kind of shift over to housing related things.
Mhm.
But question number four, do you have any plans to expand resources for our unhoused population?
This is such a complex issue,
Hmm.
and we know that it's a very controversial one, and it's one that kind of, if we're being transparent, easily divides Denton, because you have individuals that are impacted, maybe that own businesses, and maybe some of that can kind of impact that, and then you have individuals that are like, we just need more resources, we need more funding, and so it's like, where is the balance? I think that it does require a balanced approach rooted in both compassion and accountability. And so I think that taking a holistic look at just how many resources we have, how many shelters we have, who is doing what, and what that data looks like as far as who is using the resources. So, like, what is the conversion rate to kind of helping people get out of this situation. And then um, because we know not everybody's in this situation for the same reasons. You know, you have single moms that are maybe escaping domestic violence that just need a couple of months to kind of get on their feet. And then you have people that, maybe are longer term, need full wraparound services as far as like, mental health issues or substance abuse issues. It's just the full spectrum of why are they in this resources, and those solutions aren't going to be a one size fits all for everybody. And so I definitely support expanding our partnerships with like our local nonprofits and the service providers who are already doing effective work, while also improving, I guess, coordination to those resources, and making sure that they are being as efficient and effective as possible. And so I guess all of that to say, looking at it holistically, what is working, what is not working. What I think we don't want is a waste of resources. And so if we're just kind of throwing something at the wall, like maybe this is working, maybe it's not, we really need to look at that and see how do we help people as compassionately as we can afford to do as a city, while also not shouldering the financial burden of the entire county. I think that if we can find that middle ground, I think that we make a lot of progress.
Right on, right on. Let's see here. Question number 5. Rent continues to increase to absurd levels here in Denton. How would you address this issue?
So I've actually, as someone that struggled for years in Denton, I would always get priced out because, I had these 4 little boys. And I would be trying to buy, not buy, rent a 2 or 3 bedroom house. And I was competing with students who could pay $600 a room. And so the house that I was hoping to rent for maybe, say, $800 a month was going for more like 1,600 or $2,400 a month. And so this is a very real issue that I faced for years. And so, fortunately, I think that we are at the point where we've built up so much. A lot of the apartments aren't full. And so, we are kind of seeing for the first time ever a little bit of a decline in rentals, which is a good thing. I think that the issue is keeping Denton affordable for everyone. And that's your seniors that are on fixed incomes, that's your middle income families that are maybe double working and their property taxes are climbing. I was finally able to afford to buy a house a couple of years ago, and my property taxes have made it to where I don't know how people are doing it anymore. And so it's like when we say affordable and like affordable housing, that should be everybody. And so I think that we need to really look at our economic development and make sure that we are being attractive as a city and bringing the businesses and the companies that will bring higher paying jobs. I hate commuting. I will be the first one to tell you that. I would love to be able to support my family right here in Denton. And in the people that can do that, that is certainly a privilege for them. And so I think that we need to kind of reduce those unnecessary barriers when it comes to development. Um, and then also, Denton's area median income is so low compared to other surrounding cities. So, it's not just about keeping rents low and keeping housing, affordability low. It's also kind of propping up to where Dentonites are able to make more money and be able to afford more. And so I think that that's the balance. I think we're doing good as far as getting rents down because we have developed so much and we've built up so much over the last year. But I think that we have to be able to support affordability without sacrificing the character and functionality of Denton, which is why so many people have complained about the apartments. So just finding that balance, I think, is what's important. And I don't know, it's just it's just not as simple as keeping rents low. It's all of it because we're all feeling it for, groceries, gas, like it's not just rent, it's groceries, it's gas, it's everything. And then it's like salaries, so I think that that's kind of the bigger picture is just making sure that we have better job opportunities in Denton.
100%. Yes. This our next question has to do with cost of living, and it kind of ties into your previous answer quite a bit about how it's a lot of factors. But
Mhm.
to close us out with question number 6, um, people in Denton struggle to afford cost of living, such as transportation, housing, groceries, etc. What do you hope to see the city do to make living here more affordable?
So, yeah, I probably should have saved the last one for this one. Sorry about that. I should have also mentioned in the last one, on planning and zoning recently, I was one of the ones that voted in favor of the ADUs, and not just one ADU, but 2 ADUs. Um, I think that also finding different kinds of housing, it doesn't just have to be a 4-bedroom brick house and it doesn't have to be a 1-bedroom apartment. I think that we should offer more diversity when it comes to tiny homes and home ownership. Like maybe you can't afford a 4-bedroom house, but maybe you can afford a 1-bedroom tiny home so that you can kind of start the process of home ownership, building that equity, and then in 5 years you can flip that and go to something bigger. And it just starts kind of there, as far as like building that, building that wealth and not being stuck in that cycle of renting. Um, so I think that offering different kinds of housing, the ADUs is kind of one piece to finding that missing middle. Um, I think that affordability is one of those things that it's the biggest concerns from our residents right now because it touches everybody. It is housing, it is transportation, it is everyday cost, and so the city's role is to focus on what we can directly control. Obviously, we can't control what the nation is doing. And I think that that means being responsible with our own budget, being efficient with the services that we have, being smart with the infrastructure and the planning and long-term support of the growth that we know is happening. Obviously, transportation is part of that, and having a system that works to reduce costs. It would reduce hundreds of dollars a month for me if I could take the bus to or the train to work, but I need it to be faster. And I know that that's also kind of feedback that's come along. So ultimately, I think that we know growth is coming, and but it has to be done responsibly, and with the infrastructure and planning in place, the fiscal responsibility of making sure that Denton remains a place where people can afford to live, work, play, raise their families, and build their future. I think that, I don't know, it's a lot.
Well, I love a lot of what you've said today, honestly. These are some great ideas, and I'm so glad you took the time to answer these questions with us. Just as a last thing, is there anything else you want to say to anyone? Like where can they find you? Where can they find information about your campaign? Anything like that?
Thank you for asking that. So I think, I think again, I can't reiterate enough. I am a regular person. I am not running on a slate with anybody. If I felt like council had been doing their job and representing me and hearing my neighbors over the last few years, I would not be doing this right now. Like I am coming here as a regular person who is sacrificing time from their job, their career, their family, their friends, my regular life, because I think it's important that we get this right, and I think it's important that everyday people have a seat at the table, and we don't kind of let our council get hijacked, for lack of better words, by people that are just maybe in it for the wrong reasons, and that's what we've seen over the last couple years. Is just you know I don't think that council should be a stepping stone for a career in politics. I think that it should be rooted in servant leadership and in doing something because you see a need and you're willing to step up and serve. And I really feel like that's who I am. That's who I am at the core. If I see a problem, I'm like, let's do it. Like we're doing it. And so I hope that that resonates with people. I hope people kind of see that, as far as who I am. If you do want to learn more about me, you can find more information on who I am at my website. It's ericafordenton.org. I also have a Facebook page where I post pretty regularly. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So I'm excited, and it's been just a very humbling, amazing opportunity.
Well, we can definitely link your Facebook page and stuff like that. We will probably post these videos on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. So we can have those links for everyone below. But that is pretty much it for today. Thank you again for taking the time out for us. And that's it.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and thank you for being patient with my crazy schedule.
Of course, anytime. Thank you so much, Erica.
Have a good one.